welcome, welcome. I'm so glad you're all here. The people that went to 8 o'clock service have been here for about an hour and a half. The service may or may not have got done pretty fast. That service, no promises for 11. That makes for a lot of coffee. If you have to go to the bathroom, feel free just to excuse yourself. Good morning, kids. I want to hear from you. Good morning. Boo. Let's practice again. I'm speaking to the kids. Good morning.
First 3 Saturdays in
All right. Let's have it completely silent.
Fun, safe place.
Good morning, kids.
Saturdays fish
This is just outright rebellion. That's what this is. It is too early. All right, if you are under the age of 13, I would like you to come forward. Stand up and come forward. Here we go. Let's go. Zane. You have to. You're my child. Let's go. That's you, Caleb. Caleb, go. Olivia, let's go. Get those girls.
Ladies,
I'll go up with you.
Come on up. Keep coming. Sam, let's go. Come on up. Let's go. We need Caleb. Come on, Alan. You know Caleb.
I'll go up with you.
13 or younger. Let's go. As I said, I died. Oh, sorry. I meant 13 or younger. Thank you for helping me clarify. Come on up. Get down. Hey, Peyton, you want to come up, buddy? Come on up. All right, you guys.
Maturity level, I'm going up.
Good work. All right, I need your help. This is not, we got some learning to do today, so everyone go like this. Do it. Take your hands out. Like this. Let's go. Like this, kids. Here we go. Up in the air like this. Move your hands back and forth. Wave them over this way. Come on, put your hands up in the air. And wave them like you just don't care. And go like this. All right, here we go. Let's sing a song. I want you to lead your parents and grandparents and church family in this song. Hands out in front of you. Put your hand in the hand. Okay, we got to go really slow for that. Okay?
Come on, parents, try it. Come on.
Your hand in the hand of the man in the land of the art that floats in the flow of the flood of the blood of the love of Jesus. Okay, Rasmussen, Schmitz, Barris. You are not exempt from this, Dan Barris. Put your hand in hand. Come on. Too cool for school. Come right up here, buddy. You can do this. I know you can do this. By the way, you've gotten huge. I kind of regretted this decision right away. Put your hand in the hand of the man in the land of the art that floats in the flow of the flood of the blood of the love of Jesus. Put your hand in the hand of the man in the land of the art that floats in the flow of the flood of the blood of the love of Jesus. I said, amazing grace, how sweet the sound. You go sit back down. Give him a hand. And now you guys. We gotta go fast. All right, but you gotta do it, okay? We're gonna go faster. Put your hand in the hand of the man in the land of the art that floats in the flow and the flood and the blood and the love of Jesus. Put your hand in the hand of the man in the land of the art that floats in the flow and the flood and the blood and the love of Jesus. I said, amazing grace. sweet the sound. A little bit faster. Put your hand in the hand of the man in the land of the ark that floats in the flow and the flood and the blood and the love of Jesus. Put your hand in the hand of the man in the land of the ark that floats in the flow and the flood and the blood and the love of Jesus. The singing quit there. I said, amazing grace. How sweet the sound. One more time, faster, but I want you to sing. Try to sing too. Put your hand in the hand of the man in the land of the ark that floats in the flow and the flood and the blood and the love of Jesus. Put your hand in the hand of the man in the land of the ark that floats in the flow and the blood and the blood and the love of Jesus. I said, amazing grace. How sweet the sound. Let's try this again. Good morning, children. Good morning. Yeah, that's the best I can do for you, Cheryl. All right, you guys will go ahead and go to your classroom unless you're staying. You guys are headed off with your teachers. You have a blessed day. It's story time. All right. Well, that was the best I could do to overcome the grogginess in the morning. You wouldn't have a rough time getting up? Oh. We have those in our house. We have like 3 of those self-correcting satellite aligned whatever clocks, but I never trust them. Anyone else? I always go, okay, I'm setting my alarm. This is supposed to work. One year we set them back and thought we would just do it for it, but then you know what those do? They go back again. So then you're up to like 4 in the morning. Whatever. And so this morning I got up, the alarm went off. It supposedly was supposed to work, but I've never trusted. I walked out into the kitchen to look at the oven, the only one that is not satellite, whatever, in our house. I'm like, please, Lord, say 4:30, otherwise I'm late. 4:30. And I went, yes! Ugh. Anyone else? It was like a bittersweet thing. Glad I was up. It's 4:30 in the morning. Anyone else have this experience similar to this? Oh yeah, you got to sleep in, huh? That's right. Well, for us, as we began last week, I just want to catch us up to kind of some little review. We began with beginnings. Do you remember what the beginnings are? It was probably a little different than what you thought. For all of us, there's beginnings, there's answers to stories. For some, it's Darwin. For some, it's evolution. For some, it's, you know, we got this going on right now on TV. We had the Bible. Remember how famous and popular that was on TV? Everyone was watching this. It was the Bible. That was a presentation of a story. Well, now there's another one on all those same, it's like been what, a year later? Now there's another one that's being pushed on all those same channels. Have you guys noticed what it is? The Cosmos. Anyone heard this? It's everywhere. It's on regular TV. It's all over the place. And if you don't think that's not a direct attempt to tell a different story, you get another thing coming. It just is. It's what's happening. And so we have these stories. But for us, as we begin with this. Do you remember? What is our foundation? Who has always been and will always exist? God. That's right. And when God makes his creation, he looks upon it, and before he says, very good, he puts at the center of it, who? This is the beginning of our existence in his creation. And we're put there for a very specific purpose, to follow him. And so for us, we realize that we are founded on the Word. We follow God's Word, Jesus Christ, and this is the foundation for all of creation. This is what God lays out. This is our story. It's the beginning. So, for us then, there's truths here. This makes sense of all things. God has created the man and woman for what purpose? Procreation. Have the kids. And what else? We are created for family and to be stewards. And in this, he has given us purpose. And so you start to see all of creation functioning in the way in which he has designed it. So out of this come things for us. Like all truth is found, it kind of flows from these things. We have, in the midst of us, love. We get to experience this in this world. And finally, and I put this last on purpose, because we have kids. And in this, you have a foundational truth. This story that you've heard your whole life, that God has created all things in 7 days, and then they're put here for a specific purpose, and then they fell into sin. This story makes sense of all of life for us as Christians. It's foundational to our existence and the way we approach things. And so what happens is when you start to mess with this stuff, when you remove Jesus as the way, the truth, the life, and replace that with yourself, you're really replacing God. And when you do things like taking man and woman and making that not foundational or the whole purpose for creation, what happens? It all falls apart. Do we see this around us? Do we know this? Yeah, of course, we see it all around us. And there's pain, and there's hurt, and there's grief. And what it is for us is this is just the reality. This is how we make sense of the things that are happening all around us. And so, as we talked last week about marriage and started in this place, it's important that we understand this. When we talk like this, this is going up on the website, so hello, welcome to our online community. This can be taken wrong. This can be taken on attack or as an attack or intolerant or hate speech. But for us, so central is this attack that it has to be addressed, because for us, marriage is foundational. And when you blow it up, the problem is, it's not like this happens in a vacuum. If someone redefines marriage, it's not like we are unaffected. For us, when that explosion happens, it goes straight through into where? Straight into the home. And in every aspect of our lives, you can't escape it. Even if you're Christian, you can't build a strong enough wall. You could go be Amish, and you will not escape this. It will happen. Just watch the Amish Mafia on TV. What a weird show. I had to watch it. The Amish Mafia. It's like, what is that? It's weird. And so, this is why marriage is important to everybody. It doesn't matter whether you're married or ever be married. It doesn't matter. It affects you. This foundational thing in our society, when it gets messed with, it has consequences for everyone. So I can see, like, if you're 14 right now, sitting out there thinking, what's this got to do with me? I'm not getting married for like 20 years, right? So what's this got to do with me? Well, it affects you. The destruction and degradation of families affects you. It's already affecting you. And the goal is to help you make these connections and to see the things that will be coming. And so, the question that I had you ask was, what am I looking at and how did we get here? This is something now we didn't have to use to ask this question, but now we have to ask it. And so I'm going to show this. Now, I was a little disappointed because every political person on the radio jumped all over this story, and I'm like, and I almost didn't use it because I don't want this to be a political conversation. I don't care about that. What I do want is to use this example, and so I found a completely monotone voice, like on the radio when they're doing weather. Have you ever heard that person? Today is going to be a cloudy day, or whatever. That was a really bad example, but you'll hear it in a minute. And right there, you're going to watch this. It's a story about something that happened in New Jersey. Now, this has been politicized like crazy, and I'm not interested in that. But I do want to use it for us to practice asking this question. What am I looking at, and how did I get here? Okay, so we're going to watch this, and I want you, then we're going to split up, and we're going to talk about this, and we're going to diagnose. Ready?
Abandoned daughter or spoiled brat teen sues her parents for cutting off tuition. Judge rejects financial support requests by New Jersey teen suing parents. A New Jersey honor student suing her parents in a potentially precedent-setting lawsuit had her motions for financial support, including high school tuition payment, denied Tuesday by a judge who said it would set a bad precedent by setting limits on parenting. Rachel Kenning, 18, of Morris Catholic High School, was denied her requests for child support of $654 a week, as well as thousands of dollars in attorney fees and immediate reimbursement of her high school tuition. Morris County Court Judge Peter Bogart also ruled that Rachel's parents must keep her on their health insurance policy and keep status quo on all college savings accounts set up for her. Canning claims her parents threw her out of their Lincoln Park home 2 days before her 18th birthday in late October, although her parents insist she moved voluntarily. Canning's father, retired Lincoln Park Police Chief Sean Canning, told the Daily Record of Parsippany that his daughter left home of her own accord because she didn't want to abide by reasonable household rules, such as being respectful, keeping a curfew and doing some chores. Since moving out, Canning, who has reportedly already been accepted to several colleges, has been living in Rockaway Township with relatives of her best friend. Former Morris County freeholder John Inglesino is funding the lawsuit, the newspaper reports. Canning sought to have her parents ordered to immediately pay tuition at Morris Catholic High School, where she is a senior. Her parents have already paid tuition through December 31, but haven't signed additional checks since. Rachel left the family's home. Administrators at the school have said they won't kick her out for unpaid 2014 tuition. This whole thing is just destroying our family, Sean Canning told. We love our daughter. She's our pride and joy. The door is wide open. We want her to come home. Canning told the newspaper he and his wife have disagreed on typical family issues. I'm a liberal parent, he said. I wish I could have grown up in my house. I was tougher on my cops at work than I've ever been at my home, that's for sure. Legal experts told the Post that the rare case, if successful, could evoke similar suits in the future. In my 20 years of practicing family law in New Jersey, I've never seen anything like this. Brian Schwartz, chairman of the New Jersey Bar Association's Family Law Section, told the newspaper. Geraldine Lawrence, the incoming Family Law Section chair, said, "This could open the floodgates of recalcitrant kids fighting with their parents, moving out and then suing for them to keep paying." Another hearing to decide whether to require her parents to pay for Canning's college tuition is tentatively scheduled for April 22nd.
How many of you guys have seen that before? I'm gonna learn how to use this. I am for sure on guard all the time now because I think this way I'm preparing for these classes, so I might be a little more sensitive to not. But when I saw this headline in a different article, I thought to myself, whoa, that's a new one. Has anyone ever heard of anything like that before today? Yeah, okay, a lawyer. So, Ron, let me ask you, how long is it going to be before once someone wins a case and opens the floodgates?
Maybe not too long.
Maybe not too long, right? Yeah, it takes one judge to set precedents, right? So that's how thin the line is. And just think about this. Now I want you to stop right here before I move on. The dad says, I'm a liberal, and then it was like a pause, liberal parent. He doesn't mean politically. Okay, I want to pause you there. He meant in his parenting style. Okay, because I'm going to ask you now to go, and I don't want to give any more away. I just want you to talk about it. Using the three truths that we have laid here in place, I want you to diagnose what's been happening to the foundations. What would have to have been disintegrated and broke apart in order for us to get to this place? All right? This, I think, is doable. I've been asking people throughout the week, and they've been doing it. So I want you, and this is, I think, a good test case for us. When we see something like this, using the three truths, what are we looking at, and how did we get here? Okay? Split into groups, 5, 6, 7. Try not to get too much bigger than that, but don't leave anyone out. Ready, go. Right. All right, bring it back forward here. We got some more time for discussion. I just thought this might work. Realize maybe I should have laid out some more ground rules.
I tell them, once you're on your own.
The one thing is, this isn't a time of judgment.
Your own kids, then you can.
Right? The reason I really liked this situation is, tell me about what you witnessed with the family, just by appearance. They have some money, go to private school, retired police chief and there's no divorce here, at least that we're aware of. It's just a nuclear family with a child. What color skin do they have? So they don't have that. They're New Jersey tan. That's right. Sometimes you just repeat things you're thinking about it. That was funny. I'm glad I wasn't awkward. I just should have said it. For us then, this is their family, and yet so pervasive has this become, all of these things, that it's not like any family, even with all the privileges, is affected by this. I read after, and I thought about putting it up there, but I decided not to, but I read after, and I'm going to summarize it for you. The daughter wrote on her Facebook page a lot of stuff, and one of the things she wrote is she had a damning perspective on her parents' generation. She called them the baby boomers. She said baby boomers are selfish. All they care about is themselves, which I thought was ironic. All they care about is themselves, and their kids are attachments that they like as long as they fit into their purposes. I want to ask you a question, because I would agree with that, actually. I agree with that completely. That's the generation I identify where things started to go horribly, horribly wrong as a culture. But when you replace all of this with self, then what is it that you produce? Selfish kids. So powerful is the influence of parents that it continues on. It's just happening. And I'd like to pause, and we're going to keep moving so you can have discussion time in other areas, but I would have liked to have been in all your groups to hear what you think, and there's so many different facets of this. How do we get to this place? How can we get to a place where a kid can now sue her parents for child support without a parent involved? How does that happen in a government? Well, it happens in a government. Why? Because of all the circumstances where the government has to play who? Parent. Because it just keeps breaking down and breaking down and breaking down. Very fascinating. Rachel said, well, she's 18. And I go, how long do kids stay on their parents' insurance policies? So they might be, parents, if this happens, like Roland said, very soon, this could be you're paying child support to your kids just because they don't like you until they're 26 or whatever the magical age is. I mean, this is crazy. Anyone else? The purpose of this conversation is not political. It's to help you see that this is happening. Okay? So that we as a church can pause and think, what are we going to do? Because we are been crucified with Christ. We no longer live for ourselves, but for who? Christ. It's Him who lives within us. And the life I live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God. And so this story, whether we are able to accomplish it, this set up perfect creation is what we long for and strive for within our church. But we recognize that there are different ways that you can approach this. And there's two that we just can't afford to do. The first is immersion. We can't just go along with the culture. We're not able to do that. That is unfaithful, and God says no. The second thing is because, I mean, really, how long can you hold your breath? How long do churches stay Christian? This happens. The largest church in the Presbyterian Church of the USA just stepped away from their church body because most of their pastors don't believe in the divinity of Christ. All right? The largest church stepped away and said, we'll be our own thing. We can't do this anymore. Very interesting. All right? Isolation. You can't do this. The Amish have been trying it for a long time. How's it go? They still got a mafia. Plus, it's just wrong. We're called to be not of the world, but be where? In the world, doing what? bringing hope and truth and guidance and wisdom. We have a voice now for wisdom. There is a better way than this way, right? So the last thing, our approach, the thing we have to be about is to insulate, because our children are being sucked out of our church like crazy right now because we're not doing this. We're not helping them deal with this and make these connections. So this is where we have to go, because the truth is, God's truth is the only thing that insulates us from the culture. So how do we insulate our church, our children, our workplaces, our relationships, our homes, each other? How do we teach one another, like Mr. Miyagi, to react appropriately, to have the instincts and reflex? So when Mr. Miyagi goes to punch us in the face, we go, "What's up? What's up?" You have to think about this. And I know this works. I've watched it with parents over the last 5 years. Their kids say something, instead of going, "Oh my goodness, I don't know what I'm supposed to say," or pleading with their children, they say things like, "You think there's a democracy here? I love you very dearly, but do what I say, or I'm going to suck up your Legos in a vacuum." Yeah, Craig Turk. And he did it. And you know what his kids went? They were like this. Right? Now you're nice. You actually took them out. Are they here? Put them in a Ziploc bag. Save them for another day. In a little present, you can wrap them up and give it to them anew, and then you'll look awesome. Right? I would have just thrown them in the garbage because I hate stepping on those things. But how do we do this with our children? How do we do this in our church? How do we be not of the world, but live and work in the world? This is hard. So that's where we're going to pause here. And I want you to go in your groups again. And I want you just to talk. We started this last week where I said, how do you do this with your children? If the purpose for marriage has turned into sex, like the video last week kind of proclaimed, and that's pervasive, how do you do this in the church? And I shared the ways we're doing it. And then I asked you to go back and share, and I said we'd pick this up. So how do you do this? How do you insulate them? And I'm not going to give you the answers. I'm not going to throw 10 things on the thing, 10 easy steps. I want you to struggle with them. Take each one of these things, get specific or as broad as you want, and I want you just to ask and struggle with the questions. The goal is to insulate ourselves and our children and this generation growing up in faith. How do we go about this? How do we do it with our church, our children, in the workplace, relationships, homes, and each other? All right? Ready, go. All right, if I could have you turn back up and bring your, we're going to wrap it up here. The kids are starting to come. I am encouraged. Carl, can you shut these doors? Mike, can you shut these doors? Just have the kids wait out for just a second. I'm encouraged as I went around from group to group and just listened. Hey, what'd you come up with? I heard a lot of good stuff, and I want to just say this because I don't want you to have a false expectation. I'm not sure. If you felt like you're not sure how to do this, I am also not sure. I have ideas, just like you had ideas as we come along here. I have things that I think are helpful, like these 3 truths, laying them down as a foundation. And we're going to talk about some of these things, but if you expect there ever to be a day where I lay it out in a nice 10-step, easy program for the perfect Christian life, you will be disappointed. Because this is hard. In fact, back in the back corner, we had someone walk in 5 minutes ago. They got caught up quick and they said this: there's a fine line walking this between isolation and insulation. I thought, wow, that's really good job, Chris. You should go to school and become a DCE. Oh, maybe a teacher, a church worker. You should go to Seward, Nebraska, and be a church worker. You should do that next fall. What a great idea I just had. He's going there next year. But yeah, this is important for us to recognize this, that we have a lot of work to do. I've already told you a few things. One is probably the people we can learn from the most about how to do this are missionary families. because they've had to do it by necessity. So they've learned things along the way. The time where we need to be spending as a church, the time we need to be spending as a church is here together. The conversations that happen today, those need to continue. And boom, right on time. And then this. Because of these kids that are walking in, we have to start focusing on the young amongst us. Raise your hand if your kids are grown. Guess what? Every bit as important for you to be focusing on this than anyone else. All right? Our whole church has to do this. One of our 5 expressions of our vision is that we will do what? We will be focused on the new generation. Say it with me. New generation. For those that are new to our church and new to the faith, regardless of age, and the children that are coming up in our church. And so we're going to be having these conversations. And I just want to, for once, put it to death. If we're talking about children and parenting, it affects everyone in the room. Right? If you don't have children or your children are grown, it still impacts you in the whole creation. And that's why we're having the conversation. Okay? All right, well, we'll pick it up again next week. Excited for that. This will be online sometime in the week. We're caught up now. All the videos that have been done so far are online now, so you can go back and catch up if you want. I've heard a lot of people say that's been helpful. Anyone had a chance to watch those or rewatch those or whatever? I encourage you to share it with people. If they're like, what's this all about? Pick your favorite one that has been really helpful and have them watch it. This conversation needs to expand out beyond this within our congregation. So we got a few kids here with us, and the rest shall be coming. All right. What?
They haven't come down yet.
I know. That's good. It's true. All right. Why don't we go in our groups right now where we're at? As your kids join you, just kind of bring them in. Let's take 4 or 5 minutes and just pray for this. Lord, guide us. Say the things that you think we need guidance with. Ready, go. All right. Let's pray together the prayer that he has taught us. Bow our heads, fold our hands. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Two quick things. One is we are running critically low on cookies and desserts and snacks and the like. So if you have the ability, the skills, talk to Alan. Alan, raise your hand. Alan. Ready, raise your hand. Good job. Cookies. Amen. That's the guy to talk to. The second is this. If this has been helpful to you, share it. Both online, invite people to come. Let's pick up chairs.